I grew up in the insurance industry of all places. My father started an insurance inspection company over 50 years ago. So doing property inspections for insurance companies all across the country, and I ultimately took over that business and then ended up selling it. But in that business, I lived the pain of trying to get better property data and get it at scale. Set out to try to help solve that problem, and that's when I synced up with my co-founder David Lyman. We're both named David, and our wives are both named Catherine. A little known fact. Yeah, so Betterview is a property intelligence platform. So we use aerial imagery to process buildings and properties for insurance carriers. So our go-to-market is the insurance industry. We have a platform that derives data points off of the imagery and also turns it into actionable insight. So, a lot of people focus on data. We think we need to create the data, but also give a platform that helps you do something with that data, right? Actually mitigate risk. A little under 40% of all property claims dollars paid out in the US go to pay roof-related claims. So it's this huge, bucket of claims activity for every property insurer, really. And if you remember, this was about 6.5, 7 years ago. Drones were really kind of starting to take flight. No pun intended. And drones.
It's a funny pun.
Drones were great, right? Like they could get very high resolution imagery, get very close to the buildings. The challenge was really scaling that, right? It was just too expensive and slow to send, because you had to send a person out with the drone, right, to go capture it. So we don't think it's just about the data. It's about the data plus the actionability of that data. So, how do you really get to predict and prevent versus just repair and replace? Isn't a better scenario one in which you can predict that something may happen and prevent it from ever happening in the future? Think about wildfire. If Betterview can detect that there's vegetation in the area, we can work with the insurance carrier to tell the insured, hey, cut back some of this vegetation. We've mitigated some of the risk and hopefully prevented a loss, right? That is the future that we see coming, really making the insured's partners in risk management. And we think Betterview's platform can be a key to that.
And 7 years later, what's the size of the team?
So we're almost to 50 people now. So, we've had a lot of growth, actually, even, within COVID and the last 12, 18 months, and continuing to grow. So split between San Francisco and San Diego, engineering team, and a lot of data science is in Carlsbad, down in San Diego, and then we have an office in San Francisco, and then people across the country now as well. We have that whole rules engine built into our platform, and there's a whole partner ecosystem, and this will be shown at ITC, but you can go in there and say, I want to install this partner, this partner, this partner, and you can utilize that data out of the box, like today in our system. We think it's really important because there's not great geospatial UIs out there to bring these things together and then flag on it. And even if you don't want to use our UI, you can still pull in these data points and use our API to get hit with it and say, this rule was tripped. I want to know about it.
David, thank you very, very, very much for your time today. It's been a pleasure.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Love what you're doing with the podcast, and appreciate you spending a couple minutes with me and hearing our story.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks so much.